You're listening to Fighting Game Follies.
It's the #1 podcast for low-level player opinions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Round one.
Hello to all my masters, grapplers, and set play psychopaths, Wi-Fi warriors, O2ers, tournament organizers. What's going on? I might have missed last week, but I'm making up for it with a double episode this week because it is time for everybody's favorite small-scale podcast, the Fighting Game Follies. I am your host, Great for Games, Games.p, GCC Skyward, whatever I'm going by this week. And because I accidentally missed last week due to some stuff, we got a lot to talk about, like I said earlier. I'm gonna be doing a double upload this week, so I'm dropping this one Monday, Tuesday, whenever this comes out, and then we're also going to be doing our regularly scheduled weekend upload as well. So be on the lookout for that. Without further ado, I already said that we were going to talk about last week the EVO lineup, or I guess 2 weeks ago. I said we were going to be talking about the EVO lineup and my whole thoughts about it, my thought process on the entire thing. So without further ado, I suggest that I stop trying to stall for time and actually get to talking about the lineup. And first things first, I just want to point out how sort of I guess weird this lineup is because there's a lot of I don't want to say a lot of things that don't belong here, but at the same time the entire thought process behind it is kind of weird because there are some things that I expected here, but other things I sort of didn't. But I guess we should just actually start talking about it. And I also just want to say excuse me if I sound sort of off. I've been congested for the last couple of days. Everyone knows what's going on up here in New York, so yeah. But first off, let's actually get and start talking about the stuff that I really care about, and I guess the games that I really care about, which obviously Guilty Gear, that was going to be a mainstay, or this is going to be a mainstay for until we get another Guilty Gear game or another anime fighter representative for a good while. Since BlazBlue most likely isn't going to be getting a new game anytime soon, I feel like Guilty Gear is probably going to fill in the void that that would take. But then again, I'm pretty sure BlazBlue hasn't been on the main stage for since Central Fiction came out all the way back then. So Gear taking its place makes sense. Make sure that you're I understand why it's going to be here, especially with all of the other stuff that happened in Gear history, which I'm I have a lot of things to talk about in terms of the few coming episodes, but just know that I'm going to be pretty busy for the time being. So yeah, Gear being here makes sense. I have no qualms with that. I have no issues with Guilty Gear being there. It's a mainstay for the rest of this half decade, I would assume, or until they stop deciding to update the game and everything. So makes sense to why Gear's here. Gear is here. Melty Blood. Not a bit interesting. I partly don't understand why it's here. I feel like there could have been something else that was chosen, but by all means, I'm not really I'm not fighting for it. I'm not fighting against it. I think Melty Blood is a really cool game. I think it's really sick. I find it to be like I said earlier, I find it to be kind of interesting how it's on main stage, especially since this game is notorious for having tournament grassroots in hotel bathrooms and the backwaters of wherever you can find a setup. But I'm kind of glad that it's sort of getting the recognition that it deserves. Maybe French Bread might even drop another announcement or something while during its time on the main stage. Who knows? I haven't really been following Melty Blood all that much, so I'm sort of left in the dark for anything that's happening. Um, I guess I'm just I'm probably going to tune in every now and again, see if there's anything interesting that happens. I'm not going to understand anything. I'm just gonna see be there, watch the pretty anime fighter do the pretty anime fighter things, and then just be on my merry way, I guess. I don't know. I'm definitely not going to skip it though, because this is something that I'm interested in. And also, something else that I guess sort of doesn't really fall into the stuff that I care about category, but just something that I find kind of interesting. Instead of getting Street Fighter 5 because that game isn't getting any more patch updates or anything, we're going to actually be getting Street Fighter 6 for this year's lineup, which I think is kind of weird, mostly because of the fact that we haven't outside of the two closed betas, we haven't really had the chance to really mess around with Street Fighter 6 and see what's actually happening. So it's going to be kind of weird to see it at a first like official tournament, especially since like it's technically not even out to the public yet. So whoever signs up for this would purely either be going into it the first time around or like just straight up already tried the first two betas and have like a like semblance of an idea for it. So my theory about like why Street Fighter 6 is here, I'm assuming what's going to happen is we're either going to get a because or Evo happens August 6th to or August 4th to August 6th. We are currently in March. So March, April, May, June, July, August. Wait, wait. March, April, May. I can't count. Whatever. But we're probably not going to like. Whoa. All right, I can't count. I don't know. I feel like the SF6 being here like relatively early on to its lifespan is going to be kind of like weird. Uh, I guess I'll just like have to look out for it and like see what actually happens. But whatever, it's here. Like no one really has any qualms about it here being here. I would have probably swap this out for 5 and then like given Street Fighter 6 a year to develop itself before putting it onto a main stage. But then again, with the amount of traction that's been surrounding Street Fighter 6, I partly like don't really have any qualms about it. And then the other thing that's actually like really weird, it is really weird for it being here on the main stage, like in this time in specific. And another game that I'm actually really interested about, Marvel vs. Capcom, like Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. We haven't seen this game in like years. So the fact that it is here is kind of like that's wild. And for all of like the younger viewers out there and everything, Marvel has history. Marvel has an insane amount of history behind it. So the fact that it's like here making it stand on the main stage again is sort of like kind of wild. Like this is an Evo where I don't feel like they were necessarily pulling things out of like the barrel or like scraping the bottom of the barrel, but just seeing it here is like really interesting, especially since like it is an older title. They probably aren't going to be running like the modded version, which like makes sense. So we're probably going to be getting like base UMVC3, like taking it back to the olden days. We're going to be seeing those Magnetos, those Sentinels, who else am I thinking? Doom, Virgil, like Dante, like setups like that. I wonder who's actually going to like appear for the SF3, like, or not the SF3, the UMVC3 like tournament and everything. I hope we get some like older players on there, like maybe like Wong might. Wong hasn't touched or to my knowledge, Wong hasn't touched UMVC3 in like a good while. So I doubt that we'll be seeing him, but I hope like we see like some like maybe, like Filipino champ or like Yipes or someone. I hope getting Yipes on commentary for this would be like really cool. I would like to see that. But yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, I think that's really interesting that it's here on the main stage. I gotta check and see what day that's actually happening because that's something I most definitely am going to like appear for. And I'm pretty sure I did mention it in the last episode, but just to reiterate, I am actually going to be going to Evo this year around. I'm really excited for that. It was like I'm really hyped for it. I'll like once I come back from Evo, I'll like give you guys my whole rundown of everything, like and like just my whole experience. Once that's all said and done, but I'm most likely not going to be pulling out for or pulling up for like every um game out here on the main stage, mostly because some of them I don't really care all too much about. I'm specifically looking at Mortal Kombat 11 and Dragon Ball Fighter Z, but I'll still like show up just so I can get like the full like Evo experience, I guess, whatever that's supposed to mean. But those are the games that I really care about or I think I find interesting. Street Fighter, or Street Fighter 6, obviously that makes sense. Guilty Gear obviously makes sense. I am primarily a Gear player, so I was going to like show up to that like no matter what, especially since August is going to be there's most definitely going to be an announcement sometime soon in August, especially for Gear since a lot of things did actually happen at Arc Evo, which I'm probably going to talk about soon. But Guilty Gear makes sense. Melty Blood, a bit weird, but I'm still rocking with it. We got two Arxis main stage on the board. I'm or three Arxis main stage on the board. I'm really interested, really cool. And then Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I didn't really play a whole lot of, or I did play a whole lot of Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Didn't really get into it competitively, but I thought it was fun. So I'm cool to play. I'm actually really excited to see that, especially since like with how we are like now, with like the whole like UMVC 3 modding team and everything happening. I feel like this might have actually brought in some like newer players, so we might see some like new young faces that weren't really there in like Marvel's heyday and everything. Or we might just get the same old lineups that we've been seeing tried and true again, the team combos and everything that we're so accustomed and familiar to. But whatever happens, I know I'm most definitely going to be there for Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I'm most definitely going to be there for Gear. I want to be there for Street Fighter 6, but I'm probably not going to. I'm not gonna say anything about that yet. And then Melty Blood, I might pop in every like now and again just to do updates and everything, see what's happening. I'm not really going to be playing all too much like close attention to Melty Blood. I didn't really touch or I didn't play that game. I thought it was interesting, but I didn't really play it at all. Um, so whatever happens for Melty Blood, whatever happens for Melty Blood, I'm probably not going to like show up, but I'm probably gonna like see it anyway. So yeah, that's my whole like premise on, or not my whole thoughts on like the first part of that evil lineup. Those are the things that I really care about, and those are the things that I'm probably going to like be there in person for, like watching. And if you do see me in person, then like by all means, like just pull up and say hi or something. I don't know.
Round two.
Alright, so now that I like talked about all the good and fun stuff, I guess I should start talking about the stuff that I don't really care about or I'm not necessarily going to really be keeping my eye on. And first things first, I guess we should talk about the thing that I'm like I guess has the least potential for me to like not keep an eye on, or I guess the most potential for me to like sit down and watch, that being King of Fighters. King of Fighters 15 I think is a like really solid game. I feel like if you were to buy a fighting game right now, this is probably the best, like the most like solid answer that you could choose if you want like something like solid bare bones and like really like just like fundamentals based and everything. I feel like this is a really good option. But for me, I'm not really a fan of like King of Fighters all too much. I find it to be a fun game. It's just that like when I did try and play it with a couple people, there weren't like it wasn't really anything that I like saw myself gravitating to or sticking to. So whatever happens for King of Fighters 15, whatever happens for King of Fighters. And I also find it kind of funny because most often than not, this is the game that I like forget is even in the Evo lineup. Anytime I'm like talking to friends and I'm not like specifically looking at the lineup, I'll always go through all like everything. I'll somehow even remember Melty Blood's there, and then I'm like, wait, there's one other thing. I know there's one other thing, and then it's King of Fighters. And I think King of like I said earlier, I think King of Fighters is a really cool game. It's just that it's not something that's like my cup of tea. I might like check in for it every now and again, but like it's not something that I'm really going to be like trying to keep my eye on it or like really pay attention to all that much. Next up, fighters. I just don't like fighters at all. I don't know if I've made it apparent on the podcast or not, but like I'm not a fan of fighters like in the slightest bit. I don't like the Dragon Ball IP. I don't like how fighters plays. I think it's from compared to like other team-based fighters like KOF 15 or like just KOF in general, and then like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, it's just not appealing to me. I just don't find it to be fun. I thought like the metas that it was in were like god awful and not like really fun to play in, especially for the characters that I played, which well, yeah, that's fair, I guess. But fighters, I'm not really like I'm probably most likely not going to like sit down and watch this at all. Like, and don't get me wrong, Fighters does have some like hype moments in it, like the Leffen versus Goichi fight that I did mention in like one episode of the podcast. It does have some like hype moments in it, but it's just not something that I'm going to like really pay attention or like give thought into actually watching. So whatever happens for Fighters. And something else that also has that same mentality, Mortal Kombat 11. like I said earlier, I just think the game's boring and like not really fun, which sort of blows because I found Mortal Kombat 10 to be a lot of fun, and I thought that game was like done per like executed greatly, despite like the issues that it did have. But Mortal Kombat 11, I'm not going to like really I'm not really going to be paying attention to or anything. I might when because Mortal Kombat 12 has also been getting like leaked and everything as like this year has been rolling out slowly. So I might like stick around. I might like maybe tune in every now and again to see when Mortal Kombat 12 like gets maybe a teaser trailer or something because I feel like as the biggest fighting game tournament of the year, there's most definitely going to be a teaser trailer for the next game. So yeah, I'll maybe like watch a couple games just to see how everything goes, but I did not care about Mortal Kombat 12 in the slightest throughout this year. So chances are I'm most likely not going to watch it at all. And then another thing that like sort of or actually no, because this is the last game for the lineup. Tekken 7. Now, Tekken 7 is in a very weird spot because, like KOF, I don't inherently like not like it or anything. It's just that anytime I try and actually play Tekken, it's just so foreign and weird to me that I just can't get into it. And I have honestly tried to play it every like now and again. I played Lucky Chloe, Eliza, and Akuma, and then those three characters are like I find them to be really fun. I find Tekken to be really fun and engaging. It's just that like anytime I do try and play it, it's not really like I'm only really sitting there like button mashing. I'm not really playing with intentionality, and I feel like that's partly because Tekken 7 has like no tutorial whatsoever. Like so, I I don't necessarily want to blame that on like me the player, but at the same time, when you don't even have a tutorial to really play the game, then like what's incentivizing me to try and like learn it? But oh well, that's a conversation for another like episode. Maybe with a special guest who's a Tekken fanatic. Who knows? Um, but yeah, if anything, I'm definitely going to be looking for this specifically for Tekken 8 because I feel like this is probably going to be the last time that we actually see Tekken 7 on the main stage, unless Tekken 8 does not like drop if Tekken 8 doesn't come out next year, then this is most likely going to be the last time we see Tekken 7 on the main stage. And I kind of want to like see like its last like Tekken 7 competitors. Maybe this might be the time that we get some people who drop out. Maybe we might see some new faces for 8. Whatever happens, I do want to like see it in like I guess its last legs. This is presuming, like I said earlier, that Tekken 8 doesn't come out this year and like just completely wipe it off the face of the planet. But then again, since we have games like Street Fighter, or like Street Fighter 6 coming out for each year or like now, um, we're most likely going to like this is gonna be the last time we see Tekken 7, which kind of like I guess blows because Tekken 7 has been a big one, a mainstay for a good while. But all things must end eventually. I'm hopefully they announce like a beta or something, or like an alpha or beta maybe for Tekken 8 when this comes out, because I would like to try it and like try out the heat system because like I said before, I'm not really a fan of like the everything that Tekken 8 has been showing off so far, and I feel like it's way too like aggressor oriented. So maybe like once I actually get my hands on the game and I get to like test it out and everything, my opinions might change, who knows. But like I said beforehand, until like something comes out where I'm able to like test out the game and like formulate my opinions more on like actual game feel and everything and less on like just what we've been seeing, then we'll just have to like go and see. But those are sort of like that's or no, that's all of the games for this year's lineup. In terms of like lineup quality, I think it's fairly solid. Like there are some heavy hitters here. There are some things that I'm going to see. Street Fighter is going to be bringing in a lot of people. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 probably is going to be bringing in a lot of people. Year might get its mainstays. KOF, Tekken 7, oh well, oh well. Melty Blood, that might be on the smaller side. Mortal Kombat, like oh well. Fighters, that might be like a tiny bit bigger. Who knows? All I really know is that there are some things that I'm gonna be showing up for, other things that I'm probably not going to be showing up for, and like just overall stuff that I'm going to care about, things I'm not really going to care about. Who would have thought that like the fighting game player who does not play every fighting game would have a specific genre of fighting game that they show up to? But that's the entire Evo lineup. I think it's fine. I think it's like nothing insane, especially like comparing it to older Evo lineups. Like let's look at actually hold up. Let's really quickly look at some of the older Evo lineups. Grand Blue Fantasy versus this is for 2022. Street Fighter 5, Guilty Gear Strive, Mortal Kombat 11, Tekken 7, King of Fighters 15, Melty Blood, Dragon Ball, Grand Blue Fantasy, Skullgirl Second Impact. Skullgirl Second Impact. Well, okay, weird. Um, yeah, I don't know. Whatever, however this lineup shows up, like it might show up in whatever way possible, but there isn't really going to be anything like outside of those that I mentioned that I'm really going to be interested in.
Round 3.
Alright, so now that we got the important part of the games and everything out the way, I guess we should talk about more of the, like, I guess, like, the back end news and what's happening, like, at EVO. So, first things off, like, or, like, first things first, one thing that I, like, completely forgot to mention that, like, 100% blindsided me is the fact that every main stage game at EVO is going to be getting, like, at minimum, a $25,000 prize pool, which I find to be, like, kind of insane, especially for these smaller games like Melty Blood and then like UMVC3, which is like 12 years old or like however like old it is. I think that's kind of wild. Bigger stuff, like a Street Fighter, Tekken, that's like chump changes them, so I'm not really worried about that because they're going to be making like whatever, like they're going to be making that money tenfold back. But for smaller games, that's actually like insane. 25K is like a large amount of money, brother, especially for like smaller stuff. So glad to, or I guess like whoever wins like whatever tournament, like for that's gonna be insane. Um, Next up though, or I guess like the like bigger thing to like mention. There, I know I'm like 4 years, or not 4 years, dude, like 4 months late to it, but there is, I guess, a bit of a controversy that was like currently going on. Excuse me. There was a bit of a controversy that was going on with like the change that was happening at Evo, which is the fact that there actually isn't going to be like a top 8. And by what I mean by like top 8 is the fact that there isn't going to be a like the top 8 bracket is no longer going to be like streamed or recorded. It's not only going to be top 6, which I find that to be kind of like I understand the concept behind it. It's just the fact that like only recording top 6 is like kind of not it's weird to word, but just the fact that like we're not going to be getting like people saying, "Oh, I made top 8 at Evo" or like anything because those games aren't going to be getting streamed is gonna kind of like suck. Cause I would like top when you say, "Oh, I got top 8 in X," it's like, all right, cool, let's go to the VOD, let's see what's happening. But that kind of blows. I would like to understand like their decision behind it, or I guess I do understand the decision behind it because like when it comes to tournaments do like tend to run late, like they tend to like take up a lot of time and everything. So I can understand why they would like to like cut back on that because then by that point you don't have to like do as much streaming or anything, and like you can just get into like the more like hype stuff, I guess. But still, it just kind of feels like off that it's not going to be top 8 anymore. It's going to be top 6. But oh well. Hopefully this isn't like the change to like a new thing that they're doing, but from the talks and everything, that's sort of like what it sounds like, or that's sort of what it seems like actually. So that's sort of like I guess weird. Like top the fact that top 8 isn't really going to like be streamed. It's going to be top 6. I'm not really I don't know. It's just a weird thing to like really think about like in the long run. But hopefully this isn't really like some sort of like change to a big market like I said before. I just whoever gets into it then whoever gets into it then I know for a fact I'm not competing this year like obviously. I'm only going to be there spectating. Maybe I might compete like in years time, who knows? Maybe. I don't know. Um, but yeah, top 6. Whoever makes it in the top 6, congratulations. I'm saying this like way super like far into advance. Whoever makes top six, congratulations to all the like games that got in there for their $25,000 like prize pool. Congrats. To all of the announcements and everything that happens. I'm like really excited for it, especially because like Evo season, tournament season, and everything like that. This is going to be the time for like some really big announcements. Especially since like some things are already being set up before, like I said earlier with Guilty Gear, because Arc Evo happened, and I gotta cover Arc Evo, dude. Like Arc Evo was like insane. A lot of things happened with Arc Evo. We got some character announcements for Gear. We got some character announcements for DNF Duel, which is also really sick. Like that game's getting an entire like overhaul, which is like really interesting. I'm pretty sure there are like some other announcements that I like am forgetting to talk about here, but for I think Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, I'm not sure. I need to like check my research and like talk about that whenever I get like more info on it. But whatever. There's a lot of things like when Evo rolls around, or like when Evo season and everything like rolls around and everything. There's going to be a lot of traction that happens, and I don't fret. I am going to be here to talk about it, so don't worry. Your boy is gonna be here. Get the news record, like the news reporter style and everything. I'm gonna be on field. I'm gonna be on site talking, and you guys are gonna be on site, or not on site, but wherever you guys are and listening. And with that, I guess I should like probably end today's like episode. I apologize if it is a tiny bit shorter. I was supposed to talk about this more in like detail and everything, but like time sort of did me dirty and everything. But oh well. Like in I'm forgetting the word. Like I'm cutting this episode a bit shorter, but we are getting a double upload. So yippee, I guess the little yippee creature. Um, but yeah, that's really it. That's all I had, like my thoughts on the Evo lineup and like just Evo in general. Hopefully the other tournaments don't like adopt like this like six and then record like broadcasting now, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see if like any of the other tournaments follow suit, because this is like the grandfather of tournaments. So whatever. But yeah, that's really what's going to do it here for me. Um, be sure to follow the socials and everything. Socials are in the description for this episode, and they're also in the description for every other episode. Let me know what your thoughts are for the Evo lineup. If you like it, if you don't like it, what you would have changed, what your opinion on is for like this top 8 controversy, and like only showing top 6 forward. Anything else that I missed, like also would be appreciated. Hit me up on, like I said earlier, the socials, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. I like they're all in the description. Uh, and yeah, with that, that's today's episode of the Fighting Game Follies. I really do appreciate it for you sticking around and listening. It really does mean a lot to me. Um, appreciate it a whole lot. Whatever you're doing, hope I was able to help out, or at the very least, like quell the noise so that like it's not insanely quiet wherever you are if you're driving, or like something. But yeah, that's it. Appreciate it. Love you guys super like a whole bunch, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take care.